All right, if you are on and can hear me, please drop an emoji in the comments. I just want to make sure that I am being heard and that the sound is working. All right, if you can hear me, just drop an emoji. I'm going to give it another second. Hello. Yay. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. And today we're going to really be tackling fear, how to avoid feeling like a failure in front of your family. This is such an interesting and important topic because fear is something that should naturally be protecting us, and feeling like a failure stems from fears that we have, especially in front of people that we know or care about. So let's start by talking about what fears are, and feel free to add any questions along the way, any comments about any of the trainings that I'm doing. Just in the comments, I will be reading them as I go and happy to answer anything along the way. So the first thing, before we really get into how to stop feeling like a failure, we first need to identify where that comes from, where the feelings of failure actually come from. And it's all deep rooted in fears that we have. So as I mentioned, fears are there to really protect us. So like if, let's say, a lion came charging at me right now, that fear of getting killed by a lion would prompt me to run away from it, which is a very natural and normal thing. However, what we do with fear a lot and how we internalize it is through stopping ourselves from actually doing things that we want because we're afraid of what other people will think. So I want to just say right now that truly, if you have something that you dream about and you want to do, success is actually just on the other side of failure. So Lincoln wants to join. It's really important that you recognize that the fears that you have or the failure that you're afraid of doing is just deep rooted in the fears that you have about a few different things. So where does the fear of failure really come from? So most often the fear of failure is deep rooted in different real areas, different experience we have, different things that we've been through. But a couple of those places that it really exists are in our head. It's all irrational thoughts that we have about what other people may be thinking about us. And a few things that people generally fear are that they're afraid of standing out, that if they're not going along with what everybody else is doing, that it's going to be judged heavily. And it's not true. And a couple of things that, like me personally, I've experienced this a lot, and I had a fear of starting this group because what if nobody showed up? I mean, that's a totally legitimate fear that a lot of people have. If I do something and nobody's there, nobody cares about it, that I failed. When in reality, if nobody showed up, then that just wasn't the right group to create, or this wasn't the right thing to do. But instead, I just did it, and now we have a group of almost 300 amazing women that are all here to connect and grow together. So here's the things that actually will make you fail, or what you will actually fail at, and what will stop you from achieving the things that you really want to. And they are being afraid to stand out. So I mentioned that before as a fear-based thing, but it'll actually cause you to fail. If you're not afraid to stand out and speak your truth or live in the way that you really truly want to and you feel great about yourself, you will fail at that. Another reason people actually fail is that they argue instead of being open to advice. So when you share something new with your family and they're not immediately receptive to it, arguing will stop that dead in its tracks. Another thing, again, is not truly believing what you want is possible. And this is a huge, huge one. If you don't really believe in yourself and in what you're working towards, if you don't actually believe that you can do it, you're going to fail at it. The first thing you have to do is believe that you can actually do what you want to do. And then the last thing that will actually cause you to really, truly fail is deep down believing that you don't deserve it. So if you, let's say, for instance, starting this group, this is a great example. If I really didn't believe that I could connect other women together or create a community where people could really work together and be there for each other, I wouldn't have done this. But I really truly believe that there is a lot of value in women getting together and sharing and going through life as a community. So when you don't believe that you can actually do it, and you don't believe you can actually make the changes positively, and you don't believe in yourself truly, you're going to keep failing. So before we really talk about how to avoid feeling like a failure in front of your family, you really need to think about how you can avoid feeling like a failure for yourself. And the first thing that you want to do is you want to identify the root of the fear. So let's say you're afraid of changing your job or asking for a raise. You're afraid of asking for a raise. That's a great example. Identify where this fear actually comes from. Are you actually afraid that you can't ask for a raise because you won't get it? Or, has someone ever told you that you're not deserving of this? Has someone ever told you that you couldn't do something like that? You couldn't ask for the amount that you want. You couldn't get the promotion that you want. And then think about, if that did happen, who was it? And what was the situation actually like? What was going on then? Was it someone that you really cared about sharing their own personal fears? Was it, a boss telling you that there's no upward growth because the company just can't support it? So really think about what that situation was like. And then also think about a similar situation, and have you ever proven somebody wrong? So let's say you want, again, going back to wanting to get a promotion, wanting to get a raise, have you ever shown somebody that you deserve it enough and proven them wrong in a way that's really powerful and you actually got it? And then think about, if you did do that, maybe it's not the raise, but it's you changed jobs, you completely went back to school after having kids, and you proved to everyone that you can do it. What was that like, and when did that happen? And then think about, and you might want to write all these things down, what was the end result? If you actually did do it, how did you feel? How did you, what successes came from actually not listening to somebody tell you that they didn't think you could do it? So the first thing you want to do is identify the root of your true fear of either failure or judgment or ridicule, whatever it is. Identify where that's really coming from. And you may want to go through those questions a couple of times. The second thing you want to do is to remind yourself that you're better than that. You're better than the fear of failure that you have right now. So you can say things like, I'm okay even if this doesn't work out the way I want to. Failure shows me that I'm brave enough to at least try. Those are great things to say. And I'm pushing myself beyond my current limits. You can also say something like, although failure feels uncomfortable, I know I can handle it. This isn't the first time I'm failing. This is, we're adults here. We've all been through many failures, I'm sure. You can also say something like, the fear that I have of failure is just trying to protect me, and understanding what that looks like. Another thing that I like to say to myself is failure is a learning experience, and it will lead me to closer to success. Every time that I fail, I actually just take it and learn from it, as opposed to letting it stop me from continuing to move forward. And something else, the last thing I want you to consider is saying this to yourself when you start to feel a lot of fear rise up, or you're afraid of failing, or you aren't taking those next steps, is not facing this fear will keep me right where I am right now. And I don't want to be stagnant, so I must address this fear and move forward. The third thing that you want to do to avoid feeling like a failure to yourself is actually get enough sleep and prioritize self-care. I'm a huge proponent of moms prioritizing themselves in a way that doesn't disrupt their entire family. So I mentioned yesterday, and I'll mention again, for me that means waking up 10-15 minutes early to either read, maybe meditate, stretch even. 5 to 10 minutes of self-care every day is a non-negotiable, and getting enough sleep. So I know that's really tough sometimes when you are running around in circles, you have so many things going on, there's just not enough time in the day. But if you can try to at least relax a little bit more, take some time, maybe you're not actually going to sleep, but putting yourself in a comfortable place, that will definitely help. And then anytime that you are experiencing the fear of failure or any of your fears creep up, simply tell yourself to stop it. It's such a jarring thing to do, but I promise you it absolutely works. So when I often getting on this live today. It's a little scary when you first start actually communicating and sharing with people that, that you know, and some people that you don't. I had this little like inkling of like, oh my gosh, maybe I should just cancel it, because what if nobody shows up? Typical thing that a lot of us fears, like, what if nobody shows up? What if nobody cares? What if it's not effective at all? And I simply said to myself in my head, stop it. What's the worst that can happen? The worst that can happen is nobody shows up. Okay, well, that's fine. At least I have something to share when they do. So that's just what I went through even today. And then the last thing that you want to do is find someone that you can actually trust and be open with and honest and share those fears with them. So get people involved, create a community for yourself. Like, I go to my best friends, and I help my clients go to the people that they can trust the most. And they come to me a lot with the fears that they have, because they know that I'm going to objectively look at it. I'm not judging them. I don't want to judge them. I want to understand and help them. So find somebody that you can do that with too. And you know what? It may be in this group. There's almost 300 wonderful women in this group. Start sharing what you fear, and you'll find that a couple of things. One, everybody has the same fears, pretty much. And two, everybody's so willing to help. This is a group of non-judgment, of true care and concern and growth for everyone. So if you don't feel like you can go to anybody else, write it in here. Let's see how we can help you. But that's the last thing, is you want to find somebody that you can trust and you can be open and honest with, and share your fears and where they're coming from, to stop yourself from feeling like a failure all the time. And if you want to stop feeling like a failure in front of others, here's some things you can do too. Sorry, just reading through some of the comments. Thanks, everybody. So here's what you can do to avoid feeling like a failure in front of others. Get your friends and family involved. I know this sounds so scary. I'm so afraid of them judging me. I'm so afraid of them telling me I'm a failure. Why would I get them involved? Here's why. There's probably a lot that they don't understand about what you're trying to do. And a lot of times the judgments that we have, or the judgments that we get from other people, are solely based in two things. Either one, they have no clue what we're talking about. They can't rationalize it. They can't make sense of it. Or two, they have their own fears that they're dealing with, and you might be confronting their own fears. So like, for example, for me, when I started doing a lot of coaching with women, I was faced with questions like, well, does that make any sense? Is that going to work? Like, does anybody need this? Does anybody care? And when I showed my significant other, I showed him exactly what I was doing, and what the process was, and showed him the website, all of that stuff, it made more sense to him. It was a matter of him not understanding what the impact of coaching can really have. So I brought him into it, which has changed it completely. I mean, he's always been really supportive, but even more now because he gets it. So that's the first thing I would do, is get your friends and family involved. And then also with your friends and family, ask them what they really think of it, and don't say anything. Just ask them what they think, share your ideas, share your proposition, share your new business thing, share your dreams with them, and to really find out what they actually think of it. So as I mentioned before, this is the same thing, is you'll find out that they probably have no idea what you're actually talking about, or had no idea how impactful what you want to do can be, or how amazing this idea or dream or reality that you want to create really is. The other thing is that you'll be able to uncover the fears that they may have. So a lot of times fears that we hear others people have are the fears that those are the failures that those are the things that they didn't get to achieve. And we're actually doing something that maybe they wanted to, but they were too scared to do it. So now you are bringing to light the fears that they have. So when you share with your family, you actually create a beautiful opportunity to connect deeper with them, and also share with them, like, listen, I know maybe you didn't get to do this and you were so scared that you couldn't do it, but when you believe in me, I actually can. So definitely getting your family involved, connecting with them. And then the last thing I would suggest is, and I do a lot, and this is a huge part of why I created this group, is to find and share these things that you're going through with other people. Being open and just connecting with others, finding your tribe, finding your group, finding friends that get it. That's the most amazing thing. And I promise you, when you start aligning yourself and you start sharing your story, your dreams, your aspirations with other people, they're going to support you 100%. You're not going to fail when you start trying. And every time that you do quote unquote fail, you're simply learning a new step and you're learning a new way of being successful. So if anybody has, I know I'm over the 15 minutes, but if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. I also would be happy to help you if you're going through this and it's really hard and you're really stuck. You can simply like DM me, leave a comment. Let me know how I can help and support you, because I really believe everybody in this group has what it takes to absolutely achieve their dreams, and you might just need a little help getting there. So if nobody has any questions, I'm going to sign off, and I will see you tomorrow morning for our last training in this series. And I hope everybody has a great day.